In this video, I'm going to be showing you terms that I think every cuber should know. One thing that I should mention is these are just my personal opinions on what I think cubers should know. I know that there's a lot of other terms out there, so cubers, feel free to leave comments on other terms that you think all cubers should know down in the comment section, because I know there's a lot of other terms out there. Alright, well, let's just go ahead and get into the video. Nbyn puzzles. Nbyn puzzles, or NXN puzzles, are specifically puzzles that are in a cube shape with the exact same amount of pieces on each side. So a 3x3 is considered an Nbyn puzzle. A 2x2 is also considered an Nbyn puzzle, as well as a 4x4, but any shape mods like a 2x2x3 is not considered an Nbyn puzzle because it's not equal on all sides with the amount of pieces.
WCA. The WCA stands for World Cube Association. They have a website, which is the worldcubeassociation.org, where you can compete for competitions, and they tell you all kinds of updates. So if we go to competitions and go to all, it will take you to a list of all the different competitions that will be happening. And up on the top, you can see all the different events that you can compete in. And then you can also go to map and see all the different locations on where each event will be taking place. They also keep track of all the different world records, and they have all kinds of different documents, and you can keep track of all the different competitors that have competed in events, and they're a really great organization for cubing.
CFOP. CFOP is one of the fastest methods out there known for solving the Rubik's Cube. Now, there is also two other methods, which is RU method and ZZ, but generally CFOP is known to be the best. There is a lot of algorithms, but there is also a lot more that you can learn to advance on CFOP, so there's different methods that you can add to CFOP to make it even better. And I'll show you a quick demonstration of how CFOP method works. So the way CFOP works is the first step, you're going to build a white cross on white face. Now this is a pretty easy cross. I have one edge here and then one white edge here. So I can bring them both up. And then I got blue edge and green edge here, so I can bring them both down on opposite sides. That way when I turn this, I can bring them both up at once. Then what you're going to do is you're going to do a F2L. F2L is when you build your first pair. So you're going to get a corner and an edge, pair them up, and then insert. So this one we already have paired, and we can just insert, just like that. And then we have this corner and this edge, and we can pair them, like this. And then we have this edge, that corner, and they're up here. Then we have this corner and this edge, and now they're paired. Then from here, we're going to do a step called OLL. OLL stands for orientating last layer. What we're going to do is we're going to put all yellow facing up on top and using one algorithm. Then from here, using one more algorithm, we will solve the remains of the puzzle. So this is the fastest method known, and there's a lot of algorithms, but I will say that it's not too hard to learn if you take it slow. Perm. A perm is a form of an algorithm. Now, for perms in the CFOP method that I showed you, every PLL algorithm, which is the last algorithm that you use, is considered as a perm. And there are some really, really large algorithms. Now, I know that there's some forms of perms in RU and ZZ method, although I don't know what those are. But for CFOP, basically a perm will be just for the last layer, and there are a lot of different ones, 21 to be exact, and they're really long and they can be pretty hard to memorize, but if you learn like one at a time, it comes pretty simple. Skip. Now I know some of you would not consider this as a term, but personally I thought it would be smart to include it in the video. Skip basically means for PLL or OLL skip. Now, for PLL, basically what happens is when you perform your OLL algorithm, you don't have to perform your PLL algorithm. So for this OLL case, after I perform the algorithm, hey look, what do you know? I don't have to do PLL now. And this saves a lot of time. It doesn't happen very often, but it is very nice to have when it comes across. And then for OLL, to have an OLL skip when you insert your last F2L pair, all your yellow will be on top. AO5. AO5 or AVG5 means average of 5. So if I wanted to do just 5 solves on the Rubik's Cube, I would have an average. There's also AO12, AO3, even 100 or 1,000, but nobody really tends to speed solve up to 1,000 times. PB and PR. PB stands for personal best and PR stands for personal record. So if I were to time myself and I got a new best, it would be considered a personal best. But at competitions, you have a personal record. So if I got a new best at a competition, it would also be a PB and a PR. But if I got my best time at a competition that did not beat my personal best, it's considered as a personal record for competitions. So you kind of get 2 bests to keep track of, one for competitions and then one for your personal solves.
WR, NR, and UWR. So WR stands for world record, and NR stands for national record, and then UWR stands for unofficial world record. Now, if you go to the WCA's website, they're the ones that keep track of all the records, and you just go to results and records, you can see all the different records. Currently, I just have mine listed only for America, but you can go up to here and you can just click on world. Sorry if you can't really see that. There's also continent records, although I don't remember the term for that. I know there was one, but anyway, yeah, so you can see all the different types of world records that have happened. And then the unofficial world records, that one doesn't really mean anything because it's unofficial, but yeah, thought I would include this as a term because it's pretty important. Jeff Park for 3x3 blindfold average world record. I feel like I know him.
Parity. Generally when someone hears the word parity, this is what they think about. This is an impossible case on 3x3 to happen, although it's possible on 4x4 to have just one single edge flipped with everything else solved. This comes across every now and then for solving 4x4, but it's a really long algorithm and takes a while to solve. So generally when you hear the word parity, this is what people are thinking about for cubers. Now, of course, there's the other version of parity on 4x4, when this edge and this edge are swapped, which is also impossible on 3x3, although some people, like me, do not actually consider this as parity, but that's a completely different discussion on why. And then, of course, when you're talking about 5x5, you can also have this version of parity, how these 2 edges are actually considered swapped, and there's really no easy way of fixing this. So this is also another form of parity. Now there's also parity on 3x3 blindfolded, and then there's like parity on shape mods such as like the Fisher Cube and the Void Cube. But for specifically the WCA, these are the pretty common parity cases for all the different events. BLD. BLD stands for blindfolded, and generally when you just say BLD, it means you're talking about 3x3 blindfolded. Although if you write it as 4BLD or 5BLD, that's referring to 4x4 blindfolded or 5x5 blindfolded. OH. OH stands for one-handed. And honestly, one-handed can be a little crazy, and honestly, I'm not that good at it. There used to be a term for feet, but we don't really talk about that anymore. FMC. FMC is an event in the WCA, and what it means is fewest move count. At least I'm pretty sure that it's what it means. If I'm wrong, correct me. Basically what you're trying to do is trying to see how few moves you can get for solving the Rubik's Cube, because any Rubik's Cube can be solved in 20 moves or less. So the idea is not instead how fast you can solve it, but how few moves you can solve it. +2. That's a +2. When you solve the Rubik's Cube and you are 1 move away from completing the solve, it's considered a +2 and you add 2 seconds to your time. This is what happens at competitions, and you should also do it when you're personally solving, because this technically is a form of a penalty. Although if you're like this, where you're 2 moves off, this is actually still considered a +2 because a double flick is still considered as 1 move. DNF. DNF means did not finish. What does this mean? If you're like 2 moves off like this is considered as a DNF, and it does not count this as a solve, and they also do this at competitions. There's a lot of different ways you can get a DNF, like not starting your timer or going over the inspection time limit for when you're competing in an event. But however, this is a version of a DNF, but it's considered as did not finish, and the solve does not count. Sub. Sub is another word for saying under, and generally for cubers, if they solve a cube under 30 seconds, they'll say, I've solved the cube sub 30, or I've gotten sub 20, or even sub 10. So sub is just another way of saying what mark you've got of being under. So if I got like a 9.6 second solve on 3x3, that would be considered a sub 10. Although if someone says I've gotten sub 1, generally they'll probably be talking about like 4x4 or something else. But for specific things, when they say like sub 10, they're probably talking about 3x3. Buttery, crunchy, clicky, snappy, grindy, sluggish, so on. Cubers have favorite words, and when it comes to speed solving, they like to have different types of terms for each way that they think that the cube turns how it feels. So, for instance, if you have a cube that glides pretty well, like when you turn, it's considered a buttery feel. I don't actually understand why cubers say this, and generally in my reviews, I try to say smooth or, glides along. I don't generally use crunchy or grindy, although sometimes I still do. I don't mean to, but this is just terms that lots of cubers like to use in reviews on puzzles, because that's what they think that the puzzle feels like, I guess. I honestly don't know. And of course, last but not least, is that a 10 by 10? This Rubik's Cubing joke is everywhere. It has been used by so many different cubers. Where did this joke come from? What is the meaning? Well, I'll try to explain as best as I can. It all really started from the fact that non-cubers would see cubers having like a 4x4, 7x7, any cube but a 10x10 and ask, whoa, is that a 10x10? And clearly it's not. And honestly, cubers get just so annoyed having to explain, no, it's not a 10x10. So that's really where the joke all came from. Alright, so that's all the terms that I personally think that all cubers should know. I know that there's plenty more, so cubers feel free to mention them down in the comments section, because there are a lot of different terms for cubing. Anyway, so I guess for all you new cubers, after watching this, you're now officially a cuber. Actually, you really only need to know how to solve the 3x3 to be officially a cuber, but whatever. Anyway, so if you enjoyed this video, please remember to smash that like button down below, and be sure to hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notifications to be notified when new videos are released. So, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.